to elderly people living in a neighborhood for such a long time and trusting.
Surveillance video obtained by CBS News New York shows McGriff entering and leaving the home before the fire. Law enforcement sources say they were tortured and left for dead.
So first of all, I want to start off by thanking the person that actually sent me this story. However, I do want to point out that after I watched these local news segments associated with this, after I read up on the alleged killer's actual previous criminal history that he was convicted of, I realized that maybe I'm just cursed to have to react to the stupid New York State policies like bail reform and less is more until the end of time, because no matter how many cases like this that we seem to get, Governor Kathy Hochul and the Democrats in the State House never want to do anything about it, because make no mistake about it, we're talking about a serious repeat offender, somebody who was actually sent to prison, but of course he was released early, supposedly on supervised release, but he violated that supervised release multiple times, was not punished for it, had active bench warrants against him, but due to a combination of bail reform and less is more, he was able to be out on the streets and commit crime after crime after crime, and now he's tortured an elderly couple in their 70s who, by the way, offered him a helping hand, offered him the generosity that is all too familiar in that community, but of course, he was not interested in repaying it with anything more than theft and disgusting action. So this is what we're going to talk about today. The same old song that I've been playing about New York State bail reform for years, because until something gets done, we are going to live out these cases over and over and over again, and that is just too much to bear. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Jamel McGriff's movements have been logged by technology at every turn since he allegedly showed up in Belrose, going door to door asking for help charging his phone Monday. And at least one person said no. Video from a nearby Ring camera shows victim Frank Olton letting him into his home, with the home on fire just a few hours later. Frank Olton had been tied up and stabbed. Both he and his wife, Maureen, burned.
So the victims in today's story, as you could see right there, actually let the suspect, Jamel McGriff, into their home due to the fact that they are kind old people. Again, you have Frank Olton and his wife, Maureen. They're both in their 70s, and they ended up seeing a man who was saying that his phone actually desperately needed a charge, and he just needed a helping hand. So they opened their home to this individual, and they were rewarded by getting tied up, tortured in order to steal their credit cards and their bank account information, and of course having their home burned. Now obviously you should not open your door to strange men, but again, these people are from a different time, a time when neighbors looked out for one another, where it wasn't uncommon to borrow a cup of sugar from somebody, and obviously they were still in that mindset. But when you have a state that decides that repeat offenders that don't even follow the rules of their supervised release deserve to get unlimited chances, these are the situations that you end up with. And again, this guy is an absolute idiot, the criminal, the thug in this particular case, because he tried to transfer money from their bank account under the threat and actual execution of torture to his own personal bank account. So he was going to get caught no matter what. He ended up stealing their credit cards, and while the local news segment is actually very vague on what he spent the money on, he went to Macy's to buy himself clothes, and then he went to go see a movie. You know, you guys, when you want to see the new Superman movie that dropped, and you casually go and kill two elderly people, steal their credit cards, get yourself a spiffy outfit, and guess what? You then go to the movie because you just gotta see that film. You just gotta see what's playing in the theater. This is the level that this guy was operating at, and New York State rubber stamped his release, and then after he violated the terms of his release over and over again, they released him same day automatically, never violated his parole, and now two people are dead. Look at the faces of these elderly people, these kind-hearted people that opened their home to this absolute monster only to be murdered. And I know there's some commentary about suicidal empathy, but damn, it should not be this way. There were ways to stop this individual before it got to this point, but this was allowed to happen.
I wonder, why couldn't you just take what you wanted and leave them alone?
Neighbors who've been asking that question can rest easier tonight in Belrose, knowing that the man suspected in the depraved murder of the elderly couple is in the custody of the NYPD.
So look, you have another old woman in and around this area. Obviously, I opened with a woman that was breaking down due to the fact that it was like the kindest old couple in this area that was brutally murdered in this way. But the thing is, there's a reason why criminals don't act logically, why they express themselves in crazy, violent ways. And it's not because of poverty. It's not because they're disadvantaged. This son of a bitch was given housing on the outside after he was released from prison. And even though he violated the terms of his release repeatedly, he was given free pass after free pass after free pass. The issue here is with him. He's an absolute monster. He needs to be removed from society. And the fact that we went soft on him, the fact that as a society, we were like, well, maybe he's the victim here. Maybe it's not his actual victims that he hurt in violent ways in the past. Maybe we're the problem. So we gave him a break, and this is how he rewarded the community. An elderly couple, again, living in a nice home in New York. They haven't moved to Florida. They're in with their kids. By the way, they raised a firefighter in this household. So these are like your salt of the earth, regular working class people. They've been in this area for a very long time. Even though their house is rather large, they probably bought in at a time when it was way cheaper. And this is their reward for expressing kindness to a stranger in their own neighborhood that used to be a community, that used to be safe, in a society that used to remove thugs like this from the streets and keep them removed.
But that's so coward, man. You know, an elderly couple, man, that's like the most coward thing that you can do, man. You know, and the guy walked around here like he was some tough guy. And then you go and murder an elderly man.
Victor lives at the Bronx men's shelter where McGriff had been staying, which has been getting visits from detectives and the Department of Homeless Services. On Tuesday, the morning after the murders, police say video shows McGriff at this check-cashing business on Fordham Road, pawning 2 cell phones from a machine that lets you trade phones for cash. McGriff was also allegedly using the victim's credit cards.
So here we have a guy from the Bronx shelter where McGriff was staying, and he talks about how he was angry there, he acted like a tough guy, and it's really cowardly that he would just murder these elderly people. And we also find out that this guy is basically caught on surveillance or trackable, basically doing everything. He pawned these 2 elderly people's cell phones. Again, he tortured them for this stuff. He did it for a bank transfer that ultimately ended up not going through. And then after he killed these 2 individuals, this married couple who had been together for a long time, who had been in this area for a long time, he decided to burn them out because he thought he was definitely going to get away with it, not realizing that he's an absolute dumbass still using their credit cards. And again, we can see a transaction from their bank account to your bank account, and we know who you are based on that transaction not going through. So this is a low IQ individual, a violent thug that again should have been removed from society a long time ago, and by the way, is worthy of the death penalty. Let me make that 100% clear. So let's get into this guy's history, just so you can see how egregious and horrible New York State performed in this particular case. And by the way, credit to the NYPD for tracking this guy down in a couple of days. He made it easy, so I give you credit on that end. But every other aspect of the criminal justice system absolutely bungled this case, and it's only going to get worse as we elect a mayor like Mamdani who is sympathetic to these types of criminals. So we go to this local ABC article, which by the way wrote his name as James McGriff instead of Jamel McGriff, and we discover that he is charged with 50 counts in his indictment, including first-degree murder, second-degree murder, kidnapping, arson, burglary, and other offenses in connection with the home invasion in Belrose, Queens. Now, according to the Queens prosecutor, it is believed that he tied up Mr. Olton in the basement, stabbed him, tried to get money transferred into his own account that was denied by the bank, and then he took the credit cards of this individual to Macy's and used Olton's credit card not only for clothing but also went to the movies the next day. So obviously they have evidence of him entering via video and evidence of him in all these other different locations. Now, of course, McGriff tried to set Frank Olton on fire in order to conceal evidence, and that he tied up Maureen Olton, the wife, upstairs and then strangled her to death. Now, McGriff's criminal history includes 11 felony convictions. Of course, he had the 20-year sentence for an armed robbery. Again, previous behavior that indicates future threats, but the man is also described as a level 3 sex offender, which in New York State means he's among the highest to reoffend, and guess what? In 2024, he failed to register as a sex offender, which again was against the law, and it was also obviously a violation of his parole terms. However, he was arrested for this, but released same day automatically because that failure to register, not even a bail eligible crime. And the idea that they would violate his parole, not a chance in the state of New York. In addition to that, he has 4 other failure to appear bench warrants, and he's accused of other robberies, of other burglaries, of other similar type crimes that they could have used to get this man off the street, who again is on parole primarily for his role in a violent armed robbery that he committed 16 years prior to his release. Now look, I joked about him seeing the Superman movie because I'm wearing the shirt right here, but it's actually significantly worse, especially when you understand that he is a level 3 sex offender. The movie that he actually went to see is entitled Light of the World. It's a kids movie. So a level 3 sex offender with a history of violence, a history of armed robbery, a history of not registering as a sex offender after committing a double murder, decided to take a trip to a kids movie. Guys, do you understand what's happening? Do you understand all of these red flags and how they could have been used to prevent this? We may be dealing with a completely separate crime, another last hurrah from this individual, but guess what? Because New York State decided that he was the victim of society, that he was an innocent Baba Angel Aladdin, 2 people are dead, and God knows what he planned to do if he spotted a vulnerable kid in that movie theater. Now look, you might still think, Sean, you know what? It's no big deal that this guy was released 4 years early for armed robbery that was violent, that he's a level 3 sex offender who failed to register and was released after he was caught failing to register, that he's accused of other robberies that also did not send him back to jail, and he's also not showing up to court, which probably indicates that he has no interest in actually following the terms of his parole. You might excuse all of that and say, you know, he's probably really sorry. He's probably really distraught about what he did. I mean, that's why he went to the kids movie, because he just wanted to relive his childhood before he turned himself in and admitted what he did was wrong. But guess what? That's not the case, because when he was arrested, he said the following, quote, "I'll admit it, I killed them. I don't give an F. I burn them N-words," prosecutors revealed at his arraignment late Thursday night. Death penalty. This is why we have the death penalty. And if you don't believe that, get a load of this, because I told you before that Maureen Olton, the wife, was strangled to death, because that's what it said in another local report. But it turns out, report from the medical examiner is back, and he only strangled her after tying her up upstairs when she was vulnerable. Again, the woman's in her 70s, until the point when she was unconscious. She actually died from smoke inhalation, likely trying to escape the flames that were coming up all around her, but her body was so badly burned, she was completely unrecognizable. Death penalty, guys. We need the death penalty. I know I'm wearing the Superman shirt. We need a Homelander in here. Somebody's got to deal with this individual, put him through a modicum of the suffering that he put these elderly people through. And again, what did he do it for? What was the purpose of this particular crime? Why did he take advantage of these generous, welcoming elderly people? Because he wanted some cell phones for some quick cash. He wanted to do a bank account transfer that didn't even work. And then he wanted to buy clothes from Macy's, and then guess what? Prey on some children at a movie theater like the sick son of a bitch that he is. We let this guy out. We let him out and then gave him extra chances. This is the guy that we decided to change the law in order to aid and abet, and this is the result of that. And how many times is this going to be the acceptable outcome for the Democrats in New York State? How many times are they going to look at cases like this and say, you know what? Bail reform, still worth it. Going soft on the prisoners that are in prison, still a good thing overall net when you really think about it, based on statistics that don't actually exist. And you know what? The real issue, the real problem in our society, the real thing that everybody was truly worried about was that the level 3 sex offenders weren't getting a fair shake from our society. They were being treated a little bit too harsh after they did violent armed robberies, violated the terms of their parole, and this society that we have right now, where elderly people who are so so kind, they would welcome you into their home, get tortured and burned to death. Those people are the real issue. It's insane. It's madness. It's a sickness right here, and we're just supposed to accept it. And I'm not accepting it. I'm fighting back against it. Mamdani may take New York City. We may lose that for 4 years, but guess what? Governor Kathy Hochul, your time is coming. You're up for re-election in 2026. Right now, Stefanik is the woman that looks like she has the biggest advantage over you, but I will support anyone that will unseat this woman from the Republican side. Hell no, I'm not going to buy into an even more woke Democrat a la Mamdani, but at the gubernatorial level to take her place. But anyone that's actually going to go after this woman and tear this bail reform infrastructure down, I am game. I support it. I'm on board, and you need to get on board too. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a disgusting criminal aided and abetted by bail reform. Less is more. The same old nonsense. Till next time.